full attention. It's sort of a fun song.
Not gonna lie, I really did think it had a really strong Robbie Williams kind of late 90s kind of feel.
I think this is thinking man's lad pop. Tom Grennan has just released his fourth album. It's called Everywhere I Went, Led Me to Where I Didn't Want to Be. He's absolutely massive in the UK, so we wanted to find out what all the fuss was about. And why does it seem to be that he seems to be big in Britain, not so big in America and places like Australia? Al, very interested to get your initial thoughts on this guy. We've just started listening to him. What were you thinking?
Good morning, mate. Yeah, he's one that's kind of slipped under my radar, especially being 4 albums deep. I really hadn't heard of him before, and that I don't know why he hasn't kind of reached my Spotify algorithm, but he's an interesting character with an interesting background, but whether that holds up as to whether he is a quality musician, in our opinions, the jury is out.
Yeah, I didn't know what to expect. I mean, I read about his background. So he used to play football in the UK growing up. He got an injury. There was a bit of a talent for singing, and that led him down the path. My understanding is that his initial songs were more indie focused, and I think as he's gone along, it's been a little bit more polished. And that's really what you're getting on this album. I think we've heard of Little Bit of Love. I think we've all heard of that. You get a lot of that in this new album. So full attention. It's sort of a fun song. I think you have to be really in the mood for it. So his gravelly voice, it does make you want to start dancing, but it's also very safe. It's very polished. So I think all of the songs on the album, and actually looking at the back catalogue as well, I'm finding that if you really want some inoffensive music to play at a party, I don't think this is a bad bet, but whether we are playing this on our own, maybe getting a glass of whiskey out at the during the night or the end of the night, I'm not sure this would be first on my list. But am I right in saying that, Al?
Yeah, look, I would have to agree with you there, but it just may be our personal music taste because he's got some followers out there in the millions. If someone was to kind of put a gun to my head and say, who does he kind of remind you of? He's definitely got a Robbie Williams piano-driven kind of sound to him, which isn't necessarily bad, but the song Full Attention, mate, I'm not going to lie, I really did think it had a really strong Robbie Williams kind of late 90s kind of feel to it. But as well as that, I mean, he's got hints of Gary Barlow from Take That, the one of the lead singers and song chiefs there, as well as a bit of E17's Brian Harvey with the look. I don't know if you remember that band from the 90s, mate, classic pop band, all wrapped up in a smoke ring of Post Malone. Now, whether or not that kind of little posty kind of influence might be the bit of sugar in the tea for the Americans, I don't know. Are you sensing anything different in this musician?
Look, I think this is thinking man's lad pop.
Yeah, right.
Robbie Williams, but a little bit more socially aware.
Yep.
So it comes out in the lyrical themes, and this is really some of his stories growing up where I think he was beaten up as a kid. There's some stories coming out which had a bit of a mental scar on him. That comes out in some of the themes. He doesn't drink or do drugs or anything like that. So he's almost the anti-Robbie Williams in some ways. Not that makes it any less, I'll say, fun to listen to, because it can be somewhat fun, but it's probably down the safer, fun route as opposed to maybe the unsafer areas that maybe Robbie Williams used to sing about. So that's one. Certainly, there are elements, I think, of Coldplay, especially later day Coldplay. David Gray also is probably much more talented vocally than a David Gray, but the gravelly voice does lead you to thinking about him, but probably more modern day influences. And let's be fair, I think this is pretty obvious that there is Ed Sheeran and Lewis Capaldi in this. I mean, it fits very well to the Spotify algorithm, or the UK version of the algorithm. I think the question for me is to whether this will be accessible to broader markets than just maybe the UK and maybe Europe Um, I don't know what your answer to that is. For me, it doesn't seem like it.
No, I think what he'll be able to achieve is possibly Australia, maybe, but I just don't think he's got that particular sound that's gonna be, uh, troubling the scoreboard in America, really. I don't know, and it is a little bit same for me. There are a lot of artists similar, but the thing that's on his side is his, songwriting. He's actually got something to talk about in a lot of cases because he has gone through some, interesting times and some trauma in his life. He's not just kind of making it up, so he's got a lot to say about that.
It's probably a similar reason to why Robbie Williams wasn't so successful in that particular market. It's all right. It's good music. I think if you had a skinful of lager and you're down at the pub or the nightclub and you just wanted to, maybe not take your music too seriously, I think you can go and dance to it. I think there's some good stuff there, and that's sometimes good depending on the mood that you're in. But again, I wouldn't be going back to this just to listen to this for the sake of it. There's a lot more albums that I'd like to bring out, but this does play to the algorithm, right? So I think that Spotify loves this for UK
Yeah.
audiences. I don't see it starting to preference this music over other music, other tastes for US audiences. So what do you think of Tom Grennan? Maybe as a first time listener, again, I didn't think it was too bad. Not sure if it is going to be in our end of year playlist, but let us know in the comments. Let us know your thoughts.